Bobby Fi and Eric Sheetaber. We're going to be talking through this Monday baseball slate. Pretty good slate actually for a Monday. It's a lot of things to choose from. A lot of tough decisions to be made. Sheets, tell us a little bit how was DFS over the weekend? Anything exciting that I missed? I saw. Oh, congrats to Rody for a big win on Friday. That was awesome to see. Guys on fire right now. Anything for you going on?
Yeah, a couple of interesting ones. I got like third and sixth in the showdown on golf on Sunday.
Ooh.
For like a couple of thousand total.
Yeah.
And then like I actually played the baseball showdown slate, the Mets Cubs game last night, and I got second in that for 7,500.
Awesome.
I got beat at the end by it was really funny. So I needed Brandon Nemo to get out in like the ninth inning for the Mets, and I'm pretty sure I was gonna end up chopping first for like 17,500 each. And the pitcher went down 3-0 on him, and like a walk was going to be devastating to me. I'm like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. So it went strike one, 3-1, strike two, 3-2, and then strike three, struck him out. I went pumping my fist, and all of a sudden I got back into second. What happened? Some guy had the freaking 1% on reliever that struck the guy out.
Oh my God!
And moved up from like 100 to first.
Oh my God, that's so
pretty funny though. Yeah, so I'm ready to get after today's slate, which is I think it's pretty interesting. So
yeah, I do too. I think it's a really good GPP slate.
All right, it's funny. You know what I did? I should do more of this. I took a look at the games and the salaries and try to build lineups before looking at projections this morning. And it's interesting. It didn't work out exactly the way I thought. Like there are guys that I thought would be higher projected that aren't. And there are teams that I thought would be actually the teams I'm pretty well in tune with, but we'll take a look at as we get there, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll go game by game because there's a lot of interesting things here. So all right. Boston and Toronto. What do you like, if anything, in this game?
Yeah, I mean, pitching wise, I'm not really getting to these guys in my top group pretty much at all. If anything, if either of the pitchers would be interesting to me, it would probably be Bassett, but it's a tough spot for him. So I'm probably going to get off of that. Maybe I wonder if I was getting any of the Boston guys just because Bassett it's not always great. Yeah. But I wasn't really getting to too much of the Boston either. So I'm probably pretty much off of this game, actually.
Yeah, oddly, I think I probably tend to agree. I'm open to the idea of eventually taking a shot with Bassett.
With Boston or with Bassett?
With Bassett.
Okay.
But that's probably my highest level of interest. I think I have enough respect for the pitchers to stay off the hitting myself, and there's a lot of good spots in the slate. But I do, and like I said, if I was doing multiple entries and playing a bunch of them, and I ended up with some Boston, I guess I wouldn't get rid of it. But I think I have more interest as a hand builder today in Bassett than anything else. But even that, there's just other pitchers I like better. But he is on the list for me. All right, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati.
So this one's a little odd. When I first looked at it without looking at projections and anything else, I figured you should always have some respect for the Cincinnati ballpark. So maybe Pittsburgh will look okay, and Bailey Falter or whatever. Falter's not that great. He's not bad, but he's not great. So maybe Cincinnati too. And then when I ran everything, like all they want me to do is play 400% Pittsburgh. I mean, like all over the place. Like no matter what setting I do, they want me to play every Pittsburgh. They want me to like play Stargell and Parker also. I mean, like even guys that have been retired for 30 years, they want me to play. And I mean, I guess it makes sense. They're going to be pretty freaking popular, and it's not like I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna do that as huge chalk, but they certainly look very, very good no matter what system you run. So I guess you got to respect that. I did think I was going to get to a little more Cincinnati than I am, and they're actually a little higher owned than I'm getting to. So what do you think of this game?
Yeah, I mean, I looked before I looked at the ownership or anything like that. I thought this was a good game to target for both sides. I always like to target in Cincinnati in general. On top of it, Falter just pitched against this team. he actually pitched pretty well, but he only had 3 strikeouts in 7 innings. And usually the guys after in the back-to-back games, I like to take the shot of the different result. And I do think Cincinnati's interesting. I think Pittsburgh's interesting, but as you said, they are getting some ownership. And I think that you could argue a 4-pronger if really get off the board with either of these pitchers, and I don't think it's bad on either side. I also don't think any of the offenses are bad. So I'm trying to debate what I'm going to end up doing, but this is definitely one game I have circled that I know I'm going to be doing something with. I just don't know. I don't know which side it's going to be on, and it's going to be dictated a lot by ownership because I like Pittsburgh better, but they're going to be more popular, and I would be happy to just switch that ownership over to Cincinnati if that's what happens. But again, if you're playing 150, I wouldn't cross off these pitchers. There's a range of outcomes where they end up, especially with Spears. I think there's upside there. Pirates strike out at almost 20, like a pretty high clip against righties. So taking a little gamble on that might actually be worth it. But there's just other stuff I like. So again, hand building, probably not going to get to it. But I wouldn't cross off Spears or Falter actually if I was playing 150. Atlanta, St. Louis.
Yeah. So one thing I didn't check was the weather for any of these games today. Anything looks like whatever, but I don't know. I mean, I was looking at Atlanta on my rankings, and I have them rated not that great. I don't know. But I don't know why. We used to worry about them just being too expensive and like a good play every day, but it's hard to get to them. And they're going to be popular or whatever. Now, I mean, they're not even projecting all that great. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but they've been doing better. I mean, they've been there. They took it to Rodon in fine style the other day, by the way, as I talked about on this program.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think Atlanta looks totally reasonable here. Lance Landon. Is he now the guy that we have to say has tricks? You know what I mean? Or does he actually have enough? I don't think he's got enough just to keep Atlanta off his ass. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I think I like Atlanta a little bit here. I'm not really getting into Schwellenbach, and certainly not certainly, but I'm not getting to St. Louis either. So for me, neither pitcher, and I'm probably going to end up. I won't end up getting to Atlanta. I might actually force him in a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting because the only issue I have, and the reason why I think Atlanta is not projecting great and they're not going to continue is this is not the same team. There's no Ronald Acuna. Michael Harris is out. I don't think this is the same high potency offense. Now we definitely have seen Lance Lynn get hit a lot of times. He's not been good this year in general. He oddly has a pretty decent projection based on his K expected stuff is pretty high here. I don't know what to do here, guys. So I probably, this game is probably one I don't end up getting involved in really. Yeah. But I certainly wouldn't mind if you argued for Lynn or for Atlanta for that matter. Wouldn't get to Schwellenbach myself, but we've seen the Cardinals struggle as well. And it's 93 degrees with wind blowing out in St. Louis, 8 miles an hour, nothing crazy to left, but 93 degrees is 93 degrees. And I don't think I'd mind the idea of gambling here. I just personally think there's better spots to attack.
All right. So this next one, you're going to have to explain this to me just a little bit. Okay. Because when I looked at the card, I looked at the slate, I'm like, okay, first thing we're doing is playing Paxton. There's these other obviously high upside, expensive guys, but Paxton at 7,700 is going to project to be the best point per dollar play, huge chalk. And then I'm looking at it, and he's projected for no fantasy points, right? Every other pitcher that has a pulse, okay, projects with higher points against the White Sox than Paxton does, and for some reason, and it's across the board. Everybody's got to project 12 points. Yeah, I mean, it hasn't been great, but hell, this is we've played much worse pitchers against the White Sox. Let's put it this way, than James Paxton. So for me, I'm going to end up probably doing it. As far as Crochet, listen, we obviously it's a high leverage spot. He could throw it 1,000 miles an hour and he could strike out anybody. But this is not exactly the team that succumbs to a lot of that. So I don't think the problem. I'm not going to play the Dodgers, and the only reason I'm not playing the Dodgers is because I don't think Crochet is going to be owned enough to make it leverage. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm probably going to get off of the Dodgers somewhat. I'm not going to. I don't know. I don't know why I'm not playing just Paxton. So for me, Paxton, probably not much else really.
Yeah, I'm struggling a little bit with the thing. I mean, Paxton's got one of the lowest strikeout props on the slate, but I think it might be a little too low. The White Sox are basically like average. Their overall strike, they don't face lefties as much, but they are, maybe you could argue they're a little bit better, a little bit worse against lefties, strikeout wise than you'd want. But I'm open to the Paxton thing. Again, there's just other guys I'm sort of considering higher. Crochet, look, you're not going to hear this from me a lot of times necessarily this season. I like Crochet against the Dodgers here, and it's a Monday. We'll see whether Will Smith is in the lineup. We've seen that go different ways. We obviously don't have Mookie Betts for a while. It's not the most intimidating Dodger lineup outside of the top four. So I'm in Crochet significantly as he always does. Is the highest strikeout expectancy on the slate. I think Crochet is a strong play, and I don't know what to do yet with Paxton. Would I think it's worth it maybe to throw one lineup or two for the Dodgers? Maybe. I don't love this matchup, and there's a lot of good hitting weather on this slate, and this is not really one of them. I mean, it's only 6-mile-an-hour winds blowing, and it's 75 degrees. It's not like terrible. It's just we've got games in the high 90s with tons of wind blowing out. I just think I'd probably stay away from the hitting, and I'm open to both pitchers, but especially Crochet for me, which is I think the first time this season that I've recommended a pitcher against the Dodgers. So we'll see how that goes.
Miami KC. So keeping what's his name in mind, like Crochet. There's like three guys that are expensive that could flash big upside, and Crochet was one of them, and we'll get to another one later. And Reagan's is obviously the third, or the second, or the first, depending how you look at it. He's got a good matchup. I don't know where the weather is going to be like in KC. Sometimes it's not very favorable to pitchers, but we're also playing him for 10 strikeouts. You know what I mean? It's not like worried too much about it. So he's to me, he's probably the cash play, I suppose. Munoz on the other side, I think you had him like when he did well like a couple of games ago. I think so, against the Mets, or was it against Colorado? One of them where he had a really, really good game. I don't think this is the spot. As a matter of fact, I'm getting a lot of KC in my builds here, and unfortunately, it looks like a lot of people are. I'm looking at some pretty high ownership projections for Kansas City also. So Kansas City and Reagan's, that certainly makes sense, but don't get too carried away with it because I think other people are going to do that also. So Reagan's looks good, KC looks good, and nothing on the other side.
Yeah, I mean, like 98 degrees, 10-mile-an-hour winds blowing out. I definitely think KC makes a lot of sense, and I think that Reagan's is. I love Reagan's. Again, I'm a little better hitting weather than you'd want. Reagan's would be my number one on this slate. But Miami strikes out against lefties. Reagan's is awesome and has an insane amount of upside strikeout wise here. So I'm probably going to end up playing Reagan's in my highest buy-in, even though just a little concerned about the like I said, the good hitting weather. And I thought that Kansas City would be significantly the highest. It looks like they are going to be. That's the only thing you have to really concern yourself with, because I do think this is the obvious like chalk stack or whatever that people are going to use.
You think they'll end up being owned more than Pittsburgh at the end of the day?
I think it's a good question. I think it's close, but I think that I do think that they will. I'm looking at the run total just being almost 6, versus Pittsburgh 4.75. Like I just they're expensive, more expensive in some spots, but then they've got the really cheap guys at the bottom of the order that balance it out. So, and you have Adam Frazier. If he leads off, you might have 3 guys in the 2Ks in this lineup. Right. So I have a feeling that if they have the 3 guys in the 2K lineup, I think that they will be the most owned on the slate, as of right now, anyway. All right. Next up, we have the Milwaukee, Texas, right?
Yep. So here's another one, between Crochet, Reagans, and Peralta, they're all within a reasonable price of each other. I don't think the price is going to really dictate, you know what I mean, like much, these three. So you just kind of analyze them, like Peralta, he projects for me, just as well as the others. I mean, honestly. Yeah, I really have all three of these guys within like a hair of each other. Maybe Reagan's a little bit higher projection, but he's a little bit more expensive. I think you literally, between Peralta, Crochet, and him, could literally just shake the dice. All else being equal, though, which is the better matchup? I honestly don't know. Texas can do stuff from time to time, and I'm going back to the Royals one. I mean, I guess that's his hitting weather is not ideal, but Miami's much weaker. So I guess you have to put Reagan's first. And I guess Peralta for me would kind of have to be second just because of the Dodgers matchup, I guess. So I do like Peralta second as far as these spend ups. And as far as the hitting, and I don't like Lorenzen. As far as the hitting, I mean, we're looking for pivots now, right? We're talking about the Royals and the Pirates, right? They're going to take all a lot of the money. And I guess Milwaukee to me would be kind of a natural pivot here off of all that. So I do like Milwaukee just a little bit. They're not really projecting all that well, but listen, these are the guys that I know. These are the Turangs and the Hoskinses and and I'm kind of used to, and the Adamises and all this stuff and Yelich. So the guys I'm familiar with, I kind of like that. So yeah, I think Milwaukee's an interesting pivot here, and obviously Peralta's one of their top players.
Yeah, I understand the Peralta thing. I'm a little concerned about the matchup, and I actually think I like Crochet a little bit better. But I think that it's all pretty close with between those two and Reagan's. I have Reagan's as number one, and I think I like Crochet a little bit better than Peralta as my number two. And I agree with what you said about the pivot stack being Milwaukee. I think that is a very, very reasonable take. And look, they're sort of in that weird mid-price team in most spots. The Yelich, Adames, Contreras, those guys they're really expensive. So it's everybody else is sort of like right in the middle tier. So I'm kind of curious how you could even get a build in with the top pitchers with these guys. I think it's doable, but you might not be able to play the three best Milwaukee hitters in that lineup just because of the pricing, and it flattens out a lot more when you get outside of those big three. So yeah, I like Milwaukee as a pivot stack. I'm going to see how hard it is to make it work, but I think I'm going to give it a shot.
All right, so I'm going to give the same speech that I gave on, I guess it was Friday. I wish I could record this, but the same thing I said about Carlos Rodon, I guess. And I'll just say this: I think there are going to be people, like a good amount of people, playing Griffin Canning tonight. And I'm going to wish all of them luck. Good luck to you. Guy can't get anybody out, and no offense, but Oakland has guys can hit the ball. They don't really show it too often, but I know they do, and I'd much rather play Oakland than Griffin Canning, to tell you the truth. So I'm going to be off of Griffin Canning. Listen, when I say off, obviously the projection is going to give me him as a good point per dollar play. At this point, I have not yet seen the stack that I really want to pound on yet. That's really expensive. So I don't know exactly what I'm getting there. Maybe we'll get to that in a second. But I don't even know if I need to play Griffin Canning 6,100 even if I did like him, which I don't. So that's where I am there. As far as the hitting goes, or Medina, really not too much. And if anything, again, I just actually I don't mind the Angels hit bats a little bit either. So Oakland and LA hitting. Oakland clearly. I mean, I even have them rated like third as far as value goes. So I actually like them a lot.
Yeah, I think this is definitely, you could argue for three prongs here. I think both of these offenses are totally in play here. This is a really good matchup. Like I've been saying to everybody, it's gotten really hot down here, and it's not like going to be crazy in Anaheim, but 77 for Anaheim is like pretty unusual for the evening games. So I like the idea of both stacks. I do think Canning's going to be owned more than he's even being projected. If you look at the K props, if you look at the K expected thing, he's got like the fourth highest on or fifth highest, I think it is, of any pitcher, and he's 6,100.
And they don't have lefties, on Oakland. Looks like.
Yeah, I mean they've got a couple, but like it's actually I'm kind of curious who they're.
Nobody good though. I mean, none of the good guys.
Yeah, no, it's true. But I kind of like the idea of getting after both sides of this game. I think I prefer the Angels side a little bit, but I think that they're both very viable, and this is this is going to be the lower owned spot. I think this is worth taking shots both on Oakland and the Angels here. So they definitely make the top 5 for me stacks wise.
Meanwhile, I found the lefty. I forgot the leader of the free world is a lefty, Tyler Soderstrom, and he's only
right,
and he's 2,300.
So. Right. I look at his numbers and I go, it says he has 6 home runs. I'll believe that. I don't buy it. I think he's hit like 30 home runs this year, and we just only have him written down for 6.
Right.
It feels like he always is hitting home runs. Same thing with Ohapi. Every time I feel like I look up, Ohapi's hit a home run in another game.
Yep.
All right. Washington, San Diego.
Yeah. So this is the obvious spot with the major injury update to be resolved. Patrick Corbin is against San Diego, and San Diego's got some dudes. So I think that San Diego is going to be. When I looked at it at first, they looked to me to be just the obvious, just kind of like team that you kind of want to play. And I'm looking at their raw projections, and they're not even getting projected as high as Pittsburgh and Kansas City. I mean, these people out of their minds. I mean, I don't know. Like Tatis was out, by the way, Friday, I think Saturday and Sunday. He got hit by a pitch Friday or something.
Yeah.
I mean, it's if he needs a good spot to hit the ball, this is probably a pretty good one. So you got to watch for the lineups, but I mean, I think San Diego is. I would bet them to score the most fantasy points. No, I mean, even though Corbin has tricks or whatever. I mean, the fact is, I mean, so for me, I definitely like San Diego. I think Waldron's too expensive here against Washington. Not really getting to Washington though. I mean, what do you think here?
Yeah, I think you're right on. I think San Diego is the best offense to play today, factoring in that Casey's going to be crazy owned and all this stuff. I don't think that San Diego is going to be as chalky. And I'm curious what lineup they actually release. I think it's hard to project them early in the day when we don't know about Tatis. But I think I don't know if people are going to be on this one as much. And Corbin not only is the best guy to stack against, and just because he gives up insane power, but he also, you can run on him too. Like he allows you to you can steal bases, you can hit home runs. Those are what you need to score fantasy points. So I am.
Hang on one second. Hey, Regina, I'll call you back in like 15, 20 minutes. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, so I'm very heavily on board with the San Diego take. I have them as the top offense right now, factoring ownership and everything, assuming that it stays somewhere in the range where it is. But I'll have to pop it in and check later. But I do think you're going to only see a couple players above 10%, and certainly going to play that stack myself. So if you wanted to get a little bit more creative in the stack because you felt like maybe it's a little too chalky, play some of the lefties because people aren't going to play them. And Corbin he's an equal opportunity home run allower. He'll let you do it no matter what. So very high on San Diego. And I did not get to Waldron as a play right now, but I'm not opposed to it either. Just based on I like the other pitchers that I have instead of him, but maybe I'll reconsider it because he's actually been very good and very consistent. And it's Washington. I'm not afraid of them. They're not the highest strikeout team in the world, but Waldron at home I think is a reasonable play, even though he's not a priority. All right, Cubs and Giants.
Yeah, so I have to say that if you didn't like any of that, I think Justin Steele's a good play here. We talked about Reagans and Peralta and Crochet, totally cool. We talked about Canning, who's going to be the spend down, and the only mid range guy we even really talked about was Paxton. But I think Steele fits kind of right in here. It's like that late game where I don't know if anybody's really just pounding away on this game too much in general, and maybe he ends up kind of on the low owned side. Let me just see. I mean, I have him like a 20% projected. That sucks. But we'll see. But I happen to like him. I think I can get to the bats I need by playing him as an SP2 instead of playing something like Canning, for example. Or I could play Steele and Paxton. But if you play Steele and Paxton, I'm talking through this. I mean, you have to think that one of those three studs is going to do something. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of hard for all three of them to not score 25, you know? So
Right.
I think I kind of want to get one of them. But I definitely think Steele is a very legitimate SP2. And as far as hitting goes, I didn't really get to too much.
Yeah, I don't know who. I didn't see the official who's going to be the pitcher here for San Francisco. So I'm trying to. I mean, I know that Howard will do his open for 1 inning thing, but I don't even know if there's a long relief guy. Like I can't seem to find that information yet. So obviously we'll know that more about that later. But I'm with you on the Steele being a good play, regardless of ownership and everything. The Giants haven't hit well against lefties. It's pretty wild to look at this. You're looking at all these hitting. You know, like I said, 90 degrees here, 80 degrees there, all this stuff. And of course, in San Francisco, it's a nice 57. You know what I mean? It's right. Cold. This game is a 7.5 total. Justin Steele is definitely I think is actually a strong play. I've got him ranked 4th as a pitcher today, so I'm high on him. And I guess sort of to round it out, I'm not very interested in the bats in this game just because I don't like if I don't have to play San Francisco games, I try not to. Reagan's I have number 1 as the pitcher. I have Crochet. I have Reagan's, then Crochet, then Canning because the price. Even though look, it's a projection based thing that if my eyes would tell me to run away, maybe I will, but I still have them near the top. Canning, Steele, Peralta 5th, who I probably means I leave him out. And I'm going to get back to I think that your idea with Paxton is a good one. I'm probably going to be willing to risk a little bit there. So that's what I've got. I think that Paxton has upside. He just showed it. He just I put up 32 in Colorado. I don't think that we should just. And then he was good against Texas the game before that. Had a terrible outing right before that. Had a few little struggles, but he's got a high enough upside at low enough price to play him at 0 ownership. So maybe I'll bump Paxton in, and I don't. It really depends on how the builds go. If I need the extra 1,600, but like looking at just him versus a high owned Canning, I feel like I should be playing Paxton. And those are the 2 cheapest guys I was really considering today. So anyway, it's interesting to think about that one. I have the hitting San Diego number 1, and then sort of like a toss up with Oakland and the Angels and Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, slightly into Pittsburgh, Cincinnati between those. And KC, I think, is the best, I expect them most of the time to score the most runs here. But I also think that with their pricing, I'm sorry, not with their pricing, with how popular they are, it's going to be hard. But if you tell me that they're going to be like, 10% owned as a stack, I would still probably have interest in them. If you tell me that it's going to be, 15 to 20, which is what it's looking like, I think that it's a little too high of ownership when there's so many good hitting spots on this slate, in my opinion. So that's sort of where I'm at right now. But I love the San Diego idea. I think that's what I'm going to roll with. All right, Chief.
I'm going to be a little late for live today, maybe like 6:15 or so. But I will see you guys later.
Sounds good. Good luck to everybody today.